lubrication test, dry compression test, wet compression test, leak down.
Okay. Before you took the whole engine apart, you have to do some kind of testing. So first one, which is the basic one, is called dry compression. You take the spark plug out, right? And you're gonna hook up the gauge, and you wanna disable the ignition. So as you crank the engine, no spark coming from the ignition wire. And you crank the engine, either kick start or starter. And again, 4 puffs, like 4 puffs, and you stop. Get the number and see and compare it to the service manual. Yes, sir. Okay.
It's smoking. Well, not really smoking, but there's coolant in my oil too.
Coolant in the oil.
Yeah. So I mean, I know for sure the water truck is wrong. But then also.
You know, coolant in the oil, that could be a lot of things.
Well, yeah, but then also with gas.
Maybe the block is cracked.
Oh, I checked the shit.
Have you checked that? You took it apart. Yeah, but it's possible. Probably the head itself is cracked.
How do you fix
Why
it?
do you get both that gas? Because I know the head's not working.
Yeah, either the torque is not done right, right, or either the gasket itself cheap material.
Yeah.
So too much load on the engine, and the engine has compression has to go somewhere.
Because I saw that there was also coolant.
But you hear me?
There was coolant in the cylinder.
Compression has to go somewhere. So it's gonna go. Where is it gonna go? It's gonna pass by the piston rings, or it's gonna go to the head gasket itself. If you put the aftermarket head gasket, the material is weak compared to the stock one.
Yeah.
Everyone know about dry compression, guys? Say yes. Okay. How about wet compression? So let's say you have the number from service manual says what? Says 120. The number is 120, and you're getting 90. You're getting 90. In this case, you're gonna go to second step. You're gonna go to what's called wet compression. Wet compression, you gotta add some oil, couple of drops in the. You go to the spark plug opening, and you leave a couple of drops of oil, and you do the compression again. What's gonna happen to the oil? The oil is gonna go through where it's gonna seal the gap between the piston rings and the cylinder wall. If that number goes up, means what? Piston rings are worn because the oil sealed the gap, sealed the clearance between the piston rings and the cylinder wall. If the number doesn't go up, that means what? Piston rings are fine, and the problem is valves. Problem is valves. Now you want to know if it's valve or something else, then you're gonna do leak down test. Leak down test, you gotta introduce a certain pressure in the cylinder, and you gotta hear hissing sound. If hissing sound coming from exhaust pipe, that means what? Exhaust valve is leaking. That means you have carbon on the exhaust valve itself. If you hear that hissing sound coming from the intake manifold, that means the intake valve is leaking. How about if you see bubbles in the radiator? You take the cap off for the radiator, and you can see bubbles coming. That is head gasket. So you have, before you take the engine apart, you have to have this retesting. You have to have more information. Otherwise, your engine overhaul is going to be done for nothing. Maybe there's something else that you're going to see. Leak down. You gotta introduce a certain pressure in the cylinder. Piston has to be at TDC. There's a leak down tool. It's gonna bring the shop air and introduce it to the cylinder, and you gotta listen to the hissing sound, either coming from exhaust, coming from the engine cap, or coming from the intake area. Yes, sir.
Explain the dry test again.
Which one?
The dry test.
Dry test. You just spark plug out, hook up the gauge, and disable the ignition so you don't send spark to the spark plug, and crank the engine. Either kick start or use a starter. Only for puffs, get the number compared to the service manual. With test, you have to add oil to the piston to seal the clearance between piston rings and the cylinder wall.
Now, the wet test is done only if you don't hit.
Yes, if the number doesn't match, then you do the wet.
So the air is introduced, the pressure is created by air?
You use the shop air and you introduce it to the cylinder.
It's a certain tool you said?
Hmm?
Is it a certain tool?
Yeah, the tool is called leak down tester. It's right here.
And the service manual describes the dry wet and leak down test.
I'm going to show leak down test.
The whistle. That's useless. It's fun to do. I had call your dog with a piston. Yeah, I got that one. That's the right there. OTC.
Okay.
I made
This one here is cylinder leak down test. Just look how the tool look like. So when you guys go to the dealership, nobody laugh at you. Here is the tool. Why we have two gauges? One gauge is going to measure the shop air. The second one is going to measure the cylinder pressure. Pressure has to be at TDC. Can you see on this gauge here? People talk in the back. Can you see here the green area here? And can you see here the red area? So the manual is going to tell you introduce like 80 psi to the cylinder. If that gauge here shows on the green, that means okay. If that needle here goes in the red area, that means you have leakage. The leakage is going to be in the piston rings. Yes? Smoke machine, no.
That's for a vacuum leak.
Yeah. Smoke machine is for evap system. It's a good idea. I never tried it. Probably I'll try it now.
So that is the smaller machine is the same.
But smoke machine, you have to see something. How can I go inside the cylinder and see the leak? Yeah. No.
intake,
That is a leak down test.
radiator.